Breaking news from around your world on this Tuesday, August 13th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. The United States is delaying tariffs on Chinese-made cell phones, laptop computers, and other items, and removing other Chinese imports from its target list altogether in a move that triggered a rally on Wall Street. The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative said Tuesday that it is still planning to go ahead with 10% tariffs on about $300 billion in Chinese imports, but would delay the tariffs until December 15th on some goods, including cell phones, laptop computers, video game consoles, some toys, computer monitors, shoes, and clothing. The news sent the Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 460 points in mid-morning trading Tuesday. The delay seemed timed to cushion the impact of tariffs on consumer goods until after the holidays. The USTR is also removing other items from the list based on health, safety, national security, and other factors. A Chinese government spokesperson said both sides plan to talk again in 2 weeks. Together, these developments calmed investors who had been worried about an escalation in a trade dispute that rattled financial markets for more than a year and clouded prospects for the global economy. Riot police clashed with pro-democracy protesters at Hong Kong's airport Tuesday, moving into the terminal where demonstrators had shut down operations at the busy transport hub for 2 straight days. Officers armed with pepper spray and batons confronted the protesters, who used luggage carts to barricade entrances to the airport terminal. Earlier in the day, authorities were forced to cancel all remaining flights as the city's pro-Beijing leader warned that the protesters had pushed events onto a path of no return. The escalating dissent came after the sternest warning from Beijing in the 22 years since Britain returned the semi-autonomous financial hub to Chinese control. A spokesman for the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office in Beijing said the protesters are descending into terrorism. It was the first time China had referred to the protests as terrorism, raising fears it could resort to military force to quiet the demonstrations. A California Highway Patrol officer was killed and 2 other officers wounded during a gunfight in a traffic stop on a freeway near Los Angeles. Investigators said the driver of a pickup truck, who reached into his vehicle for a rifle and opened fire, was also killed as frightened motorists ducked for cover. CHP officer Andrew Moy Jr. died in the gunfight just off a freeway in Riverside, east of Los Angeles. Other drivers ran for cover and 2 people suffered minor injuries. The 2 surviving officers are in critical and serious condition but are expected to survive. Authorities say a CHP officer was doing paperwork to impound the pickup truck when the man managed to grab a rifle from his truck and open fire. The suspected shooter's father, who watched the events unfold on television, told news media his son served prison time for attempted murder, but was released more than a decade ago. He says he doesn't know what his son was doing with a gun as a felon, which is illegal. Investigators were still gathering evidence Tuesday and have not yet determined how he obtained the rifle. Riverside Police Chief Sergio Diaz said, "We don't know his motive for this crime." The investigation into accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein has branched out overseas, as authorities are now examining his properties in France and the Caribbean. French authorities have initiated an investigation into the billionaire, who was found dead in his New York City jail cell last weekend while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Epstein owned an apartment in Paris, and U.S. authorities have connected him to several French nationals. He was arrested last month after returning from France. U.S. authorities say they also raided a private island owned by Epstein in the U.S. Virgin Islands, which includes a 24,000-square-foot mansion. Epstein was arrested July 6th and pleaded not guilty to charges of sex trafficking involving dozens of underage girls as young as 14. Epstein was found dead Saturday morning, having apparently hanged himself in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan. The 66-year-old financier had been on suicide watch, but a source said he was not on watch at the time of his death. A growing chorus of lawmakers is demanding that the government hold responsible people who allegedly helped Epstein engage in sex trafficking. United Nations experts say they're investigating at least 35 instances in 17 countries of North Koreans using cyber attacks to illegally raise money for weapons of mass destruction programs. And it's calling for sanctions against ships providing gasoline and diesel to the country. Last week, the Associated Press quoted a summary of a report from the experts, which said that North Korea illegally acquired as much as $2 billion from its increasingly sophisticated cyber activities against financial institutions and cryptocurrency exchanges. The lengthier version of the report, recently seen by AP, reveals that neighboring South Korea was hardest hit, the victim of 10 North Korean cyber attacks, followed by India with 3 attacks, and Bangladesh and Chile with 2 each. 13 other countries suffered 1 attack. The experts said they are investigating the reported attacks as attempted violations of UN sanctions, which the panel monitors. The experts stressed that implementing these increasingly sophisticated attacks is low risk and high yield, often requiring just a laptop computer and access to the internet. National Security Advisor John Bolton said that the U.S. is ready to negotiate a post-Brexit trade deal with Britain. Bolton said after meeting with the new British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, in London, that the U.S. and the UK could pull together an agreement in pieces to get it done faster as Britain pushes to exit the European Union on October 31st. Bolton said, "I think here we see the importance and urgency of doing as much as we can agree on as rapidly as possible." Bolton added that the two allies could start with areas where they could agree easily and move on from there, with touchy topics such as U.S. sanctions on Iran and a ban of Chinese tech giant Huawei delayed until after the UK-EU divorce. The Trump administration announced a new rule that would make it harder for some migrants to obtain a green card or visa. Immigrant advocates say the change could cut legal immigration in half. The inadmissibility on public charge grounds policy, set to take effect in 2 months, will tighten restrictions on immigration for legal migrants using or likely to need public benefits, such as Medicaid, food stamps, or housing assistance. The State Department denied 5,343 visas to Mexican nationals on public charge grounds between October and July, a significant uptick from the 7 denied applicants in 2016. The practice is now official policy and will reportedly factor in wealth, education, age, and English language skills more than before. The new chief of the Federal Aviation Administration said the organization is very sorry for the lives lost in 2 737 MAX airplane crashes and that there is no timeline for the plane's return to service. Stephen Dixon, former senior vice president of flight operations for Delta Airlines, made the comments Monday after being sworn in as the agency's 18th administrator. Dixon said, "This plane will not fly commercial service again until I'm completely assured that it is safe to do so." Boeing's 737 MAX aircraft have been grounded worldwide for months following 2 crashes that killed 346 people. Blame has been laid on computer software, which erroneously activated shortly after takeoff, forcing the nose of the planes down. Concerning when the embattled plane will be able to fly again, he said only time will tell. In July, Boeing posted its largest quarterly loss, in large part due to the $5 billion charge related to the groundings. In becoming head of the FAA, Dixon will lead an agency that oversees more than 50,000 flights per day, with a budget of more than $16 billion and some 47,000 employees. The World Health Organization said there have been more reported measles cases in the first 6 months of 2019 than in any year since 2006, straining healthcare systems the world over. Measles outbreaks continue to rapidly spread worldwide, leading to serious illnesses, disability, and death, according to a new report by the WHO citing provisional monthly data submitted to the organization. The UN agency said the nearly 365,000 infections recorded worldwide this year is 3 times that of the same period last year and follows on-year worldwide increases that began in 2016. The report said the African region experienced a 900% on-year increase in the number of measles cases, while the Western Pacific region experienced a 230% increase. The Europe region experienced a 120% increase, and the Eastern Mediterranean region experienced a 50% increase in the preventable disease. The United States reported a 25-year high in the number of measles infections in the U.S., while Europe surpassed 90,000 recorded measles cases in the first 6 months of this year, which the WHO said is already more than all cases in 2018. Scientists announced that 2 experimental antibody-based treatments for Ebola work so well that doctors will offer them to all patients in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The findings prompted an early halt to a major study on the drugs and a decision to prioritize their use in the African country, where a year-long outbreak has killed more than 1,800 people. Patients might feel more comfortable about seeking care early now that there is a real hope for a cure, according to Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The World Health Organization and the Congolese government believe the development will boost chances that health officials will be able to stop the deadly epidemic in eastern Congo and prevent the spread of future outbreaks. Until now, Ebola has been widely viewed as a likely death sentence. Tackling Congo's outbreak has been complicated both by conflict in the region and because many people don't believe Ebola is real and choose to stay at home when they're sick, which spurs spread of the virus. One scientist said, "Now we can say that 90% can come out of treatment cured." And that's your update for this Tuesday, August 13th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.